Welcome, viewers. It was 2006, January, London, England. A housing trust in North London was checking their accounts at the beginning of the year, and when they were checking under their trust, there is a bedsit flat. And 40-year-old woman named Joyce Carol Vincent who lived in that flat. For the last 2 years she was paying only half a rent, and it came to know that still she has to pay €2,400 for that housing trust. So the housing trust started to send notice to her house asking to pay the balance rent. But even after sending a lot of notice, Carol didn't settle the balance amount and didn't give any reply to the notice. So the housing trust, without waiting any further, 20 days later, that is on January 25, 2006, they sent the trust officers to her house. And the officers who went to Carol's house started to knock the door. They heard TV sound inside the house, but the door was not opened. So the officers who thought that Carol is inside and was not opening the door, and decided to break the door, and the officers who broke the door and went inside, seeing Carol sitting on the sofa and watching TV, they were frozen in shock. Carol is watching TV. So if you ask why they were shocked seeing her means, Carol was sitting and watching TV in the sofa, but that's where a twist was waiting for the officers. What was that twist and what happened there next? That's what we are going to decode in today's video. On October 19, 1965, in London, Hammersmith, Joyce Carol Vincent, born as a last child to Lawrence and Lyra's couple, even though she was born in a poor family, Carol's life was very happy. But like destroying her happiness when Carol was 11 years old, her mother died. After that, her father, who should raise her responsibly. Without any responsibility, he started to roam around other women. Because of this, Carol's sister started to raise her. Carol started to recover slowly from her mother's death and started to live a normal life. In a big shipping company in London, she joined as a secretary in 1985, and slowly, little by little, she came to a good position, but everything was until March 2001. In March 2001, suddenly she resigned from the work she was doing and started to live in a place where women who were physically and domestically abused live, and she left her high-paying corporate work and joined as a cleaner in a hotel. It made everyone surprised around her, because she, who was happily showing love and care towards others, suddenly why she went and stayed in a place where domestic abuse victims live, and thought why she went and joined as a cleaner. Carol's friends and family asked her what happened and what problem she had in her relationship like this. They asked a lot of questions. But without answering to any of their questions, she slowly started to avoid everyone, and even completely cut off her contacts with her sisters who raised her, and started to live alone. Her friends and family thought that she was somehow abused domestically, and it might have affected her hardly, and she might be like this to avoid the contact of the person who abused her. So for a few days they thought of not disturbing her, and after everything was fine, they decided that she will come back, and without disturbing Carol, they gave her space, like this 2 years went. And in February 2003, Carol from Domestic Abuse Victims Center, she moved to bedsit flats, which we saw in the intro. Carol, who once lived happily with a lot of dreams, now she hated the world, and without any trust on life and humans. She was living alone, and after she moved to bedsit flats, till December 2003. Carol, without leaving a single month, she paid her full rent to the housing trust. But from December 2003 till the housing trust checked, that is still January 2006, nearly for 2 years, she paid only half a rent. After that, only like we saw in the intro, housing trust officers broke her door and went inside since she didn't open the door first. The officers who went inside saw that the house was fully dark. Also, when they tried to break the main door and go inside the house, under their leg they sensed something, and everything was letters sent to Carol. How it looked like means. She didn't even take and see the letters which came to her house for months, and it felt like she left it there wantedly. At the same time, there will be a stinking smell if the house was closed for years, right? Similarly, they notice such stinking smell. After that, only, like I said in the intro, the officers noticed a weird thing. I said that they heard TV sound inside the noise, right? Yes, they saw a person sitting on the sofa and watching a TV, without even a little bit of concern that a group of people broke inside her house. She was watching the TV interestingly, and it made the officers feel weird and scared. But they gathered some braveness and shouted, "Carol, are you there?" But there was no reaction from the person sitting on the sofa. Also, since the house was fully dark, they couldn't see that person clearly. So in that dark, they somehow found the light switch and switched on the light. And the officers who switched on the light was frozen in shock. And it is not a surprise even if the officers fainted and fell down, because the person who was sitting and watching TV was not Carol or someone else. It was a full skeletal body sitting and watching TV. Yes, on that sofa there was a skeletal body which was horribly decomposed. In a few minutes the officers panicked and ran out and informed the police, and the police who came to the crime scene, since the body was almost decomposed, the police couldn't confirm whether it was Carol. So the police sent that skeleton to the autopsy and sealed the crime scene. Since the body was 90% decomposed, doctors couldn't do proper autopsy, but when they matched the tooth in the skeleton and Carol's dental records, both matched, so it was confirmed that the skeleton belongs to Carol. Now, how Carol died. Is her death natural? Or else is there something mysterious behind her death? Like this, the police started the investigation. When police searched Carol's house, in the fridge there was some food. When they checked the expiry date of those foods, it came to know that the foods were expired in 2003 December, and police came to know that she didn't pay her rent properly from December 2003. So the police who checked all this came to a conclusion that she might have died in December 2003, since she was not in contact with anyone. Even after 2 years, no one noticed that she is dead. In this place you might have a doubt till January 2006, even though she didn't pay her full rent. You said that she was paying half a rent then. If she died in December 2003 means till 2006. How she paid half a rent like this, you may have a doubt. And the reason is, since Carol is a domestically abused victim, another agency who helped these victims started to pay half their rents. And since they send half the rent directly to the housing trust, the agency who doesn't know that Carol died in December 2003, till 2006 they paid half a rent monthly. It is okay that the agency paid half a rent when the housing trust officers broke into Carol's house. You said that the TV was running. If Carol died in 2003 means she might not be able to pay the current bill, and if she didn't pay the current bill for 2 years, definitely they might have cut the power then how the TV was running. Like this, logically, you might have another doubt. It is a correct question, since there was a lot of money in Carol's bank account. All her bills were automatically debited from her account. That's why her house power was not cut. For the last 2 years, day and night, continuously TV noise was heard from that house. Also, if a person from our neighborhood didn't come out means you might have another doubt that not even a single person suspected it. And the answer for this is since the flat was located above a busy shopping complex, throughout day and night there will be noise in the complex. So in that sound, no one heard this TV noise. And since almost everyone in that flat was domestically abused like Carol, no one will talk a lot with each other. And some people who noticed that Carol was missing thought that she vacated the house. Okay, we will leave all this. If a person died and the body is kept like that, definitely that body will decompose. And there will be a heavy stinking smell, and you might think even if that stinking smell didn't make anyone suspect it. But like I said before, since the flat was located above a shopping complex, in the side of the flat all the shops in the shopping complex will dump their waste there. So the persons on the flat always experience stinking smell from that dumping area. So they thought it was that smell and didn't consider it. Even we, who heard this story, had a lot of suspicions. So will the police not had these questions? So the police suspected that there might be someone behind Carol's death, and the first person who police suspected was the person who physically abused Carol, that is her ex-boyfriend who destroyed her happy and peaceful life. But how much ever the police tried, they couldn't get any proper details about her ex-boyfriend, so they stopped searching him. Now the police suspected Carol's sisters. How could they be like this without knowing what happened to their sister for years, without even giving a missing complaint to the police? How they left like this? The police kept a question in front of her sisters. But since Carol completely cut off her contacts with her sisters, they couldn't trace where she is. But even though her sisters, to know where and how she is doing, they hired a private detective. But that detective also couldn't find where Carol is. That at the same time, till what they have found in the crime scene, they couldn't get even a small evidence relating she might have been murdered. Finally, her autopsy report also came to police hand, and that autopsy report cleared all the doubts police had on Carol's death, even though the doctors couldn't do a proper autopsy. Till what they have observed from Carol's skeleton, there was no any different things, and they concluded that there was no symptoms of unnatural death. And they concluded that the reason for her death might be because of her health-related issues. And by supporting this conclusion few days before Carol died, that is on November 2003, she vomited blood and was admitted in the hospital. And when they checked why she blood vomited, it came to know that she was heavily affected by the ulcer. Not only that, it came to know that she was an asthma patient. So the reason for her death is the ulcer or asthma she had, and when she was sitting on the sofa and watching TV, because of the effect of the disease she might have died. And other than this, there is no mystery in this case, so the police closed the case. Finally, a proper final ritual was done for Carol. According to me, the reason for Carol's death is not asthma or ulcer. The reason for her death is loneliness. Even though there are hundreds of people, there is no horrible thing other than living alone in this world. Just give a smile, say good morning, and ask how they are. It will make a very big change in their life. And if you are affected domestically or physically somehow, come out bravely and talk about that person. If you start running in fear of a barking dog, then it will chase us. But if you turn around bravely and you don't have to throw a stone on it, you just have to pick a stone, it will be scared and run away. And this formula should be used to the human animals. So dear friends, what do you think about this case? Comment your opinions down without forgetting.